このモデルが話すドイツ語の文章です。
This is a very impressive and interesting ability to actually clone your voice into a different language, but make it sound like how you would sound speaking said language. So there is a new text-to-speech program out, which you know always puts me in a good mood. This is formerly referred to as Fish Speech. However, they have now rebranded as OpenAudio, and the model that is currently released that we can actually play with and run offline is referred to as OpenAudio S1 Mini. There is also OpenAudio S1, which is the flagship state-of-the-art variant of this. However, that is not something that can be downloaded and run locally. So because of that and my specific interest in local things, we will be looking at OpenAudio S1 Mini. Now, there's not too much here in the GitHub README, which sometimes I kind of like because we can just get into playing with these things faster. However, some highlights that I do specifically want to mention, because I know a lot of folks are interested in TTS models that can actually do languages aside from predominantly English and Chinese, which we see a lot of the times. This kit currently supports English, Japanese, Korean, Chinese, French, German, Arabic, and Spanish. So for those of us who are out there looking for a TTS program that supports more languages, this could perhaps be something that piques our interest. Aside from that, they talk about some other features here. However, truthfully, I'm not 100% sure what these features are specifically referring to in terms of whether or not this is the S1 model or the S1 Mini. So I won't pay too much attention to these right now. However, something that I do find I'm already laughing, potentially very entertaining are these kind of speech control things. So supports a variety of emotional tone and special markers to enhance speech synthesis. We have basic emotions, advanced emotions, tone markers, and special audio effects. So I have honestly not run this model or played with it yet, so I don't really know to what degree these can be, I suppose, made funny, but we will hopefully find out. Aside from that, they do have a little bit of a blog post here. However, it seems like a lot of this is referring to the flagship model, which is understandable. However, something very interesting I noticed in this blog post that I think a lot of other folks will find interesting as well is if we scroll all the way down, they do actually mention somewhere here, it leverages the Qwen 3 architecture and is fundamentally a native multimodal model capable of TTS, STT, text QA, and audio QA. So really, this is quite interesting because this would hypothetically be a model that you could have a full conversation with historically, and still kind of like, especially if you're building something open source or something that runs locally, you need a pipeline to do all of this. So you would need your text to speech, your speech to text, and then the LLM to actually read and then produce responses to the user's query. So having a multimodal like this model makes that a lot more efficient and simple, and your pipeline becomes, instead of like 3 or 4 different things depending on if you want voice activity detection, it becomes just one thing. So that is really interesting to look at, and unfortunately they say currently only the TTS capabilities are being released. If it is possible to kind of morph this Qwen 3 architecture and build something multimodal out of it, it is likely that we will see more things that do such a thing. So with that, let's just jump into the quick install process and then we'll play with this. In order to install this, we will just go to the documents section of the GitHub README and start by clicking and reading through the build environment document. Fortunately, this does seem relatively simple, and they do mention the VRAM requirement right here, which is 12 gigs of VRAM, and apparently it's only for Linux and WSL. But truthfully, I did see some mention of Mac OS here when they were talking about this GUI interface, so I'm not 100% sure what that specifically relates to. So being that I am testing this on Linux, I won't find out, but I did just want to mention that. So first and foremost, we just need to install these dependencies, which are just related to kind of like audio related things, I suppose we could say. So I will go ahead. I do believe this system already has these dependencies on it. Okay, we can just kind of ignore that. So just imagine that everything went nicely there and it was like, okay, everything's installed. Aside from that, we are now going to go ahead and then create a Conda environment using Python 3.12, activate it, and then install everything. Obviously, prior to this, we actually need to go ahead and clone the GitHub repository. And once we're in there, we can go back to the documents section right here and then run all of these Conda related commands as well as the installation command. So this will take a little bit of time as it goes ahead and sets everything up and installs its dependencies. Now that all of the dependencies are installed, we can actually go ahead and move on to the step where we get the model downloaded on our machine. I should also note that you can use UV to do this instead if you like that better. A lot of folks do. I just opted to use Conda as I kind of just have it and it was ready to go. With that, I will just hop back here into the GitHub for this and scroll back down to documents. And then we will click on the inference document. And from here, we first need to go ahead and download the weights. But I do want to just mention that this is a gated repository, so if you go ahead and try to run this without already being authenticated or having access to the model, it will not download. And actually, I didn't really see in Hugging Face how big this was, but based off what we see right here, it seems to be downloading around like 3.5 gigabytes of files in total, so not too bad. Alright, now that the model files have been downloaded, I think we can basically just go ahead and actually run the web UI inference. So this should hypothetically go ahead and start to run this. We should see our video RAM start to spike hopefully as the model begins to load. Very cool. First and foremost, I noticed that this does not seem to adhere to my dark mode preferences in the browser, which is, you know. Oh, cool. It does seem like you can just go ahead and upload reference audio or record it, which is good. I always like to see that. All right. This is when I'm like, I'll just try something simple first. And we'll just see, like, make sure it works, I suppose.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
It worked. All right, so I took one of my water cooler things that I had ChatGPT generate, and we're just going to see how this goes with them panting prior. Obviously, this is also a longer generation, so we can test this. I will say something I noticed is that I don't really see a lot of instructions here in terms of like the sampling parameters and things like that I should set, meaning these items in advanced config. So I'm leaving them default for now. I do kind of want to put the temperature up just to see, because that would make the generations more variable, which could be entertaining. So let's just...
Jill. Can you believe the printer jammed again? Tom. Yeah, third time this week. Lena. I swear it waits for deadlines to act up. Gary. I miss the old one, noisy but loyal. Jill. At least this water cooler's still working.
Okay, well, that wasn't funny. It was all right. I don't know that it really used this sort of emotive tag, or that's probably what I'll refer to this as for the remainder of the video. But maybe if all right, I don't know if this is supposed to, that's what I mean. Like the documentation seems kind of light, where like there's no, like you need to put it either before or after or during the speech. So let's.
Can you believe the printer jammed again?
Okay. All right. So that one was.
Can you believe the printer jammed again?
I wonder if you can have it happen multiple times. let's just go ahead and see. I'll probably be able to tell by the waveform here if it just has like a bunch of, yeah, so it does seem.
Can you believe the printer jammed again?
Oh, okay, so it changed the voice. I noticed that it seems to just kind of use a relatively random voice, and that's probably where the reference audio would come in here. I do want to just try it real quick where I max the temperature. Okay, so it was only to 1, so it probably won't be anything too crazy, but it might be a little more odd.
Can you believe the printer jammed again?
Okay. I find the voices changing between generations is actually kind of entertaining.
Can you believe the printer jammed again?
I don't think this will, I don't know. Who knows? Oh, all right. Well, let's just try that. And I want to see if VRAM starts to spike up, because they say they suggest 12. So maybe that would be for a much longer snippet of text. I will also try pasting a very long piece of text in here.
Anti-hysterical. Here are kikanabe. Zmalactins. Kini against the and I've been charging the hot my timers.
I have no idea what I just heard, but I think I may have just been hexed. Oh, I kept the temperature. All right, let's try that again.
Panty, adversarial, indifferent, intellectant, keening lights keen, into Stalinist. I'm keen and astonished, yet feel amused. Can you believe the printer jammed again? Panty.
Panty. Oh, because it says I screwed up the tag. That's on me. All right. Let's. So a lot of times folks are interested to see how much text these things can actually generate before they kind of tap out or go crazy. So here's 2 paragraphs from the book, The Great Gatsby. That is pretty long, and we'll just go ahead and actually see. So really, from what I'm seeing right here in the progress bar, it does actually seem like this will accommodate a fairly long bit of text, just based off the fact that it's only 4% done. So this might have to be fast forward. But, and again, that was this much text, which is relatively decent length. All right, this seemingly has generated it. Now, I'm not going to make you sit here and listen through 1 minute and 43 seconds of The Great Gatsby, but we will skip through to see how it went.
He didn't say any more, but we've always been unusually communicative in a reserved way, and I understood that he meant a great deal more than that. In consequence, I'm inclined to reserve all judgments, a habit that has opened up many curious natures to me and also made me the victim of not a few veteran bores. The abnormal mind is quick to detect and attach itself to this quality when it appears in a normal person. And so it came about that in college I was unjustly accused of being a politician, because I was privy to the secret griefs of wild unknown men. Most of the content, or at least the terms in which they express them, are usually played...
Sorry, let me, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go further in to see if it kept consistency with the original voice that we heard when it actually started speaking this.
Successful gestures, then there was something gorgeous about him, some heightened sensitivity to the promises of life, as if he were relative temperament. It was an extraordinary gift for hope he'll ever find again.
That's actually not bad, and what I mean by that is that was a relatively long bit of audio that it just generated, and at least from like a very preliminary listen to it.
He didn't say any more, but we've always been unusually communicative in a
I will say that it kept pretty good consistency throughout the entire duration of this generation. If I play the end now.
Extraordinary gift for hope, a romantic ready...
Okay, maybe he got a little more like aggressive and sped up voice-wise, but still, it would be identifiable in my opinion as the same general voice. So that's that's not bad. And that was, again, that was pretty long. All right, so unfortunately, after seeming like it was about to actually succeed here, it did not. Again, that would have been a pretty like aggressive test that I just gave it right here, and I would have been surprised if it actually generated this. All right, I'm now going to try the reference audio, and just to note, after it had errored out trying to read like half of The Great Gatsby, I went and tried it again, and it was still not happy, so I just went ahead and restarted the web UI to kind of mitigate that issue. With that, I will just go ahead and do this. So there is a box here for a transcription of the reference text as well. Now, I have already just written like a little sentence that I will speak, so basically I'm just going to speak what is written here, and I will record it.
This is a quick reference test, just
beautiful. All right, so now we will put some text in here, and then we'll see how it sounds. All right, so let's go ahead right here. And again, this is somewhere where I want to keep an eye on the video RAM usage, because perhaps this would sometimes utilize more, but it really didn't seem to. I saw 6 there, so let's see.
Hello and welcome to the channel. I hope you enjoy your stay, and if you don't subscribe, there will be extreme consequences.
Not bad. I think it made me sound more nasally than I sound, but again, that...
This is a quick reference test just to see how well this does in close.
No, to be honest with you, I think that was just kind of a poor reference audio sample clip because...
Hello and welcome to the channel. I hope you enjoy your stay, and if you don't subscribe, there will be extreme consequences.
That's actually truthfully better than I thought it would be.
Hello and welcome to the channel. I hope you enjoy your stay, and if you don't subscribe...
That's quite good. I don't know if this is as good at cloning as the... I don't remember the names, but the one I tested a couple of days ago or a week ago, but it is very close, and that is impressive. Again, to be honest with you, I'm really just interested in the architecture of this model, where they said it's based off Qwen 3 and is actually fully multimodal, but that's not released. So let's see if this sounds like me when I laugh.
Ha 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 ha.
Okay.
Ha 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 ha.
Ha 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 ha. Okay, so no, but it does understand just like typing in things. Let's see. All right, you know what I'm going to do here, because I want to try the clone one more time. I am going to just hop over to bijambowen.com, in all caps, where you can book a consultation to integrate AI into your business. But what I am going to do here is just go ahead and copy this and then paste it in right here. And then we will try a decent test of the cloning on a bit of a longer piece of syntax, if you will.
I am an AI consultant in the Boston, MA area. I have helped many small businesses integrate AI into their workflows in order to increase efficiency and customer satisfaction. I also run the Bijan Bowen YouTube channel where I post
Pronunciation
educational
was
videos
good.
on different AI solutions and their different use cases. If you are interested in speaking more about how your business can benefit from AI, don't hesitate to reach out.
It was acceptable and it kept consistency throughout the 20-second duration or so. Let's just pick one of these random languages right here. Let's do German. So I'm just going to go into Google Translate.
Dies ist ein Satz auf Deutsch, den dieses Modell sprechen wird.
Okay, let's see if it sounds somewhat similar to that. And again, it's not using the cloned voice sample clip there, so we're just going to leave all of these configuration metrics the same, and then...
Dies ist ein Satz auf Deutsch, den dieses Modell sprechen wird.
Okay, I think it used the reference audio. And that actually... So it can make you sound like yourself, but in a different language, which is interesting. I've had another model that did this, but I think, again, it was only able to support English and Chinese, so let's do Japanese.
これはこのモデルが話すドイツ語の文章です。
Okay. Let's try that here. So then, again, hypothetically, it should make me sound like I am speaking this Japanese sentence.
これはこのモデルが話すドイツ語の文章です。
Again, I don't know if the pronunciation was proper, but I will
これ
say
はこのモデルが話すドイツ語の文章です。
this is a very impressive and interesting ability to actually clone your voice into a different language, but make it sound like how you would sound speaking said language. Because this has support for a bunch of different languages. So let me try Arabic.
هذه جملة باللغة الألمانية التي سيقولها هذا النموذج.
Again, I don't speak Arabic, but it sounds like me speaking these different languages. This is quite impressive, actually, and I'm happy that we tried checking some of these other... Okay. Yeah, obviously this is something you probably want to play with yourself, because a lot of folks are interested in finding TTS models that can do beyond English and Chinese. So this is definitely good for that.
Oh, yeah. Tell me how much VRAM has...
That was not whispering. It's the opposite of whispering. And
Oh, yeah. Tell me how much VRAM has...
Oh, I misspelled that. That was on me. But still, that does not change the fact that this was absolutely not whispering. It was like screaming. Maybe these are for like the bigger model. I'll just... Maybe mid-sentence... I don't know.
Oh yeah, tell whispering how much VRAM it has.
Okay, so... Okay, let's just try fewer. All right, so unfortunately, I've not been able to get any of these speech control things to work really. I don't know if these are more for the better model, better meaning the one that's the full-featured flagship model, but is unfortunately not something we can run locally. So this is going to be my final test of trying to use any of these speech control tag things here. I had ChatGPT generate a paragraph monologue and just sprinkle these throughout it. So we'll see if we get any sort of kind of variation in the actual mood of the speaker. If not, I will have to report that, at least from my quick testing here that we've seen, these probably don't work with this version, or I'm doing something seriously wrong. So let's go ahead and just kind of try to follow along and see.
I stormed into the room, heart heavy, sad yet pounding with anticipation, only to find him standing there, surprised. A sudden rush of relief washed over me, satisfied, and for a moment I felt blissfully delighted, calm, but then the memory hit me again, scared. What if this all collapsed? My chest tightened, upset, my legs trembled, nervous, and frustrated. Thought of his cold dismissal discussed the edges of my mind.
Okay, so no, these didn't work at all. And I'm going to be honest here, I'm not really thrilled with the quality of the generated speech. Outside of that one kind of niche use case here where it seemed to do a very good job of cloning my voice with me speaking a different language. Honestly, I think that's going to sum it up because I can't really think of anything like entertaining to do with this. Unfortunately, because I'm having trouble just getting these speech control things to work. Overall, this video will probably be a bit more on the serious side than my normal text-to-speech testing, which is disappointing for me at least. However, I will say this did excel, as I said, in just its multilingual capability and its ability to actually use a reference sample or voice cloning someone's voice into a different language and make it sound like it would be that person speaking said language. That is definitely something I've not really seen before with any local text-to-speech models, and especially just having multiple language support. So these are a lot of popular languages right here, and I know a lot of folks are interested in finding TTS models that go beyond just English or Chinese. So this may be something of great interest to you if you are in that camp. With that, that is probably just going to conclude this video. Whenever there's a new TTS out, I am always excited to test it. And that's pretty much what this was for. So with that, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments.